So it's 1:30 a.m. here at Murray Bridge Speedway for the first night of the Australian Sprintcar title, and we actually weren't going to make a video tonight. We're very busy with our merchandise store up the top of turns 1 and 2, but in what could probably only be described, or I think best described as embarrassing for the sport, tonight was. So we felt like we should probably make a video to describe what's happened tonight, and also relay some of the conversations and information and opinions and feelings of tonight. So what happened? Well, the track conditions early on in the night for the heat races, quite, I guess, treacherous, if anything. And where things really started to kick off, I think, was Dylan Menz's crash in turn number 2 at the end of a heat race where he tore down the fence, a couple of fence poles, and obviously the mesh there, and there was a lengthy delay to repair the track fence, and that also led to an emergency driver meeting on the infield where I believe they discussed the track conditions and whether the events or the night's events should be continued. During that lengthy break, I think it was about 90 minutes or so, there was also some track work being completed to try and smoothen out the track a bit to make it a bit more friendly for the competitors. Eventually, they decided to run the remainder of heat races once the fence was repaired, which I think there was 5 more heats to run. And they also decided that there will be no prelim features run, which there was meant to be a B main and an A main run, which there was a bit of concern among drivers as for the format. When you deal with the inverts that we've had in this format, that also meant that maybe going into the final night number 2 tomorrow night, that the points wouldn't level out properly or fairly. We actually updated on our Sprint Car Hub socials that the prelims wouldn't be run, and then word came through that they would potentially aim to run past the curfew if necessary, which there is usually a fine when a track has a curfew. And the idea was that you would see a full night's events being completed here at Murray Bridge Speedway. The heat races were run, and then just prior to 11 p.m, another meeting was being held, more of certainly an informal meeting, I would describe it, outside of turns number 3 and 4. Not every driver was there, but there was a lot of conversation happening between the stewards and drivers and other team personnel, as well as to what the best option again was to proceed for the night. Meanwhile, the crowd was sitting here. We're at the top of turn number 1 right now, and I assume they were wondering what was going on themselves. There was this very informal voting process where I think 4 drivers said, yeah, we want to race, and 4 drivers said, no, we don't want to race. And in the end, the chief steward said, hey, it's even, we're going racing. Everyone go get ready, get in your cars, we're going racing.
Yeah, 4 people. Who doesn't want to race? So we've got 4 and 4, we're racing, let's go. Come on, decision made.
And then where things, I guess, ended for the night was when the B main was on track, and there were multiple incidents, red flags and other incidents. And in the end, it was declared by the chief steward that, hey, it's best option at this point in time, which was about 20 to midnight, that we should end tonight's race meeting and work out what we're going to do for tomorrow. There was a lot of, I guess, emotion or feeling in the pits. I think some people excited by all the drama. Definitely a lot of embarrassment among the teams and people there. And I assume a lot of angry teams and probably angry fans as well with how everything played out in the end. And I don't think, no matter who you are, and this doesn't mean to be critical of anyone personally, but I don't know how you describe it in any other way other than being embarrassing overall for everyone. I really wanted to speak with as many teams and officials as possible and really gather an idea of how everyone felt, and rather than just listen to, say, my opinion, gather as many as possible that were relevant. We did manage to speak to James McFadden and Kerry Madsen, who are probably the 2 most prominent drivers here competing. Both have won the Australian Sprintcar Championship multiple times in the past, and they were happy to share their thoughts. I did speak with the SCCA and even Speedway Australia people privately, and they decided that they would prefer not to speak publicly right now. Although I did get told what the format would be going into tomorrow night, the final night of the Australian Sprintcar Championship, and that is that heats will be run heads up, so highest in points towards the front, and then we'll just go straight into the mains for tomorrow night to decide who wins the A1. Okay, so let's hear from, firstly, James McFadden, who gave us his thoughts, and then I was able to catch up with Kerry Madsen after that. James, not an ideal night at all. What would you have liked to have seen happen there?
Firstly, sorry to the fans and everyone involved. That's just not good enough. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. I think every time our sport goes forward a couple steps, we do something stupid like this. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and say we needed to do this, we needed to do that, but we just needed someone to make some decisions. And there was none of that. There was no leader. You know, I think you've been a part of race teams and that, and a part of business. If you don't have a leader and someone steering the ship, it just turns to a shithole.
Yeah.
And that's what happened tonight. There was no one, you know, commanding the way we needed to run the race meeting. There was a lot of ifs and buts, and you know, we got called for a second drivers meeting there and to say we're going to not race the A.
Yeah.
And then turns out there was no plan. So it's like, well, what are we going to do though if we don't? So it's just all a little kerfuffle, to be honest with you. Seems to happen every time SCCA is involved too. So yeah, I don't know.
From the outside, it seemed like maybe no one sort of wanted to take responsibility. I guess that goes back to your leadership thing. I know the stewards were saying, hey, I'm happy to do what the drivers want to do, but then the drivers are going, well,
yeah,
you guys...
but that's not entirely true, mate. Like, we really didn't have an option in the first meeting we had. There was no option. They were going to run it the way they ran it.
Yeah.
Which, hey, at the end of the day, there's paying fans on the hill. The track, you know, the track wasn't great, but it's a fucking racetrack and it's dirt and it's not going to be great all the time.
So you wanted to race no matter what?
Yeah, like, you know, there's a point where track safety is an issue, but I think if you just race to the conditions in the heat races, it was okay. It was going to be good enough to get it done. I feel sorry for the B main guys. They should have never thrown the green on that, and that's on the steward for not, you know, we got to go through all these safety precautions that we do, and then they go at green and send cars out on a track that's, you know, they can barely get around on. So I don't know, mate. I don't know the answer, and I'm not going to say they should have done this and they should have done that. It just should be. They just need to do a better job at having a director. You know, like a Mike Hess does in America. He's the one that calls the shots, and he's the one that decides what we're doing. And then at that point, you know, we're going to have respect for the people that are calling the shots. Right now, there isn't a person that can do that. And it's more of a he said, she said, point the finger at someone else, and we're just going to headbutt each other because the club run mentality is, you know, is to just be friends with everyone, and sometimes you can't be.
Who would you like to see sort of not take responsibility now that it hasn't worked out, but who would you, moving forward, go, hey, we need to put this on, is it the chief steward or the SCCA, and go, hey, this is what's going on, this is how we're going to run it, or the track or the drivers? What do you want to see?
There's just too many chiefs, right? There's no one to go to and say this is the problem, because there's 850 guys walking around in SCCA shirts and none of them have a clue. So until that gets fixed, it's like I left that meeting before because it was a waste of time. We're just all going to headbutt each other. Everyone's going to get in an argument, and it's just not going to achieve anything. So I've learnt in my older age just to go with the flow. Like it's been the same from the day I've started, and it hasn't even looked to change. So after going to America and dealing with guys like Mike Hess, man, it's just dialed. It's easy.
How does that work? It's on him. What he's called.
Well, he makes a lot of the decisions. Basically, when we should go green, when we shouldn't go green, what we should do for track prep, things like that. And
how often would you say someone like him in his position gets it right?
Like gets it wrong and right. It's the same as me driving. Like I get a slide job wrong 1 out of 10 or 15. Yeah, I've got them. You know, and same as a track guy. Like the track guy is going to get it wrong every now and then. It's good. It's not an easy job. It's a shit job.
I think that's a good point.
But at the end of the day, if you can put your hand up and say, hey man, I fucked up, we need to move forward, this is what we learn from it and go, and we aren't doing that. So until that point, I don't know. Right. Too bad. You're going to get run over.
Thanks, bro.
No worries.
I just spoke with James McFadden. Not an ideal night for the sport at all. What's your take on, your breakdown on it all?
Just disappointed that we didn't get the A main in. Obviously, they had a lot of issues. I just really feel bad for the fans that have travelled here for the Australian Aussie title and the teams, and just really disappointed for everybody and everyone involved. So just hoping that tomorrow get a round of heats in, and tomorrow's a really good night and we can make up for it.
Speaking with James, he spoke about in the States, the chief steward, like a Mike Hess, that he's used to racing under, would make the calls, whether they were right or wrong. What's your take on sort of who should take charge?
You need a race director.
Yeah.
It's got to be aggressive with their calls. Got to, be a bit of a dictator, for lack of a better word.
What's the difference with the stewards tonight? Did they do a bad job?
Just had a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And I think there wasn't a lot of communication. I think every time the grader come out and the tiller and the water, it just cost us time.
Yeah.
And I didn't think the top was that bad, to be honest. So, and there was a few holes early, but that's racing in Australia. Like, I always like holes. It's kind of racing, so it didn't bother me.
Had the fence not got torn down, would the night have just proceeded like normal? Like what? I got told you were pretty vocal on the original meeting on the infield.
I was vocal about stop messing with the track. Let's go racing.
Okay.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I thought there was plenty of cushion. Like there was plenty of cushion. There was plenty of grip up there. The only thing I would have liked to have seen earlier was maybe you could tilt the bottom a little bit.
Yeah.
So we had multiple lines, but
I
just wanted as soon as he started doing the track pad, that's when I got worried that what are we doing? And then we got away with it. That round of heats wasn't too bad, and then we track prepped again, and we just never got the track back. It's late. Obviously, what did we lose? An hour with the fence. Obviously, that's unfortunate, but I don't know. I'm not going to point the finger at anybody.
Sure.
But it's like anything in life, a race car or a business or anything. When mistakes are made, we got to figure it out and fix it.
You obviously care a lot about this race, and I'm sure you care a lot about Australian sprint car racing. Maybe at your age, you think, hey, I've kind of experienced it all. I'm not like, what's your sort of take? Would you offer advice, or like, where do you see it kind of how do you see it moving forward? Because James kind of, speaking with him now, he felt kind of hopeless, like, hey, he can't do any more.
Well, obviously Australia's a little different than America because we have a club.
Yeah.
And we have Speedway Australia.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of levels.
Sure.
I can't, like, in America, I just go talk to Pat Sweet or Mike Hess, or I go talk to Brian Carter or Carlton Remus. It's pretty simple. Like, that's it. It's quite easy.
Yeah.
Where here, it's a lot of, it's just not that simple. I think the track would have been fine if we didn't mess with it with the water and grader. Obviously, we lost an hour, but the track were prepared to pay the late fee.
Yeah.
Or whatever
the curfew fee.
They were prepared to pay that.
Which I'm told, I got told at Parramatta back in the day it was $2,000, and it might be around $5,000 here, which is, surely not ideal, but also it's not some stupid amount. Like, really, like.
And not when we have the best fans, and they're all here and they're all race, and they travelled here to get it. So at that point, unfortunately, we got to pay a fee. We got to do it. But I don't have an answer, and I'm not gonna play the blame game now because don't know every detail. I just know what I was involved, my side of it. So all we can do is just go tomorrow, and and like they're saying, they're going to do the feature early. But if we can't get all that in, how are we going to do a feature? Let's just go do the heats.
Yeah.
Let's get a race in for the fans. Like,
that's what I've been told they're doing. They're just going to scrap even that B main tonight as if it never happened.
Let's get the heats in. Let's put a race on for the fans. And if it's a great night, everyone will forget about tonight.
It's dirt racing, right? Like, you don't know what you're going to get.
Correct. Yes.
It seems like whether it's the people or the process, whether it's one or the other or both, it certainly seems like the sport needs to come together and work out a way to just avoid this debacle at all costs moving forward. The Australian Sprintcar Championship really is my favourite race of the year, and I think a lot of people feel that way around the country, and it's something that our sport should feel incredibly proud of. And I hope anyone watching this who is questioning the sport also realize that we do have an incredibly great sport. It's just not a great night for the sport. And also, with Sprint Car Hub, we try to show the inside workings of the sport and behind the scenes and give you an insight that you wouldn't normally see. But I got to be perfectly honest, seeing how things get worked out tonight and how those sort of things went down, I'm not sure that's a good look or beneficial for us or for anyone to really see the processes and what happened. But hopefully, for Murray Bridge Speedway's sake, for the SCCA's sake, I guess Speedway Australia, who says they're not involved with this event, and just sprint car racing as a whole, that we can have a great night tomorrow night. I really feel that providing that there's great racing, it kind of has the power to overshadow anything else that happens politically or behind the scenes. So that's James McFadden's thoughts and Kerry Madsen's thoughts. You've got my thoughts. Let us know down in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys. We read all of those comments. Please click subscribe to the Sprint Car Hub YouTube channel if you haven't already. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And if you haven't already, we'd love you to support us by grabbing your gear over at sprintcarhub.com.